Hello, welcome to the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Miguel Illescas, and I'm going to do the video recap of game number 8 and game number 9 of this World Chess Championship, which is taking place in Astana between Ding Liren and Yang Nepomniachtchi. Well, probably you know already the result. We had 2 draws, but we cannot complain about the fighting spirit of these players. Both games were very interesting, especially the game which I'm going to review now, round 8. Liren had the white pieces. He was 1 point behind on the score, so he needed to try to press with white. And we are going to see a beautiful game with some important missed opportunities by the Chinese Grandmaster. Again, he was playing slower and, he was under time pressure. Let me remind you that the players, they receive 2 hours for 40 moves with no increment. Later 1 hour for 20 moves, and only it's after move 61 that they start to receive 30 seconds after each move. So sometimes the clock plays an important role, and this is happening in this match. Let's have a look at this game. It started with a Nimzo Indian, so we have again Liren trying to surprise with the white pieces. He is playing every day with the white, a different setup, trying to surprise with little ideas. And in this case, the idea he played, quite new. It was not so unimportant. It can be a very important novelty in this very well-known line of the Nimzo Indian defense. Well, this was played by some important guys along the chess history, mainly Botvinnik was one of the advocates of this variation. It's mixing the Samish system, which goes 4a3, with the Rubinstein system, which goes 4e3. And here white is playing both moves, and the surprise came already on move 7, because here usually white plays bishop d3, trying to develop later 92. But in this game he went 92 immediately, which makes a big difference, as we will see. Nepo, he continued in the most standard way, and here on move 9 we have the big move, a big novelty by Liren. It was more or less standard to play bishop d3, but then it doesn't make too much sense, because if you're going to play bishop d3 anyway, then why to play knight g2 g3? You can have the knight on e2, which is a bit more flexible. There was an old game, Lilienthal Sabo, 1949, and black got a good position after the standard moves, making some pressure on c4. We have rook a2, and we will see it's a very deep idea, but we will only see the point a few moves later. Black played in the standard way b6 with its very typical idea to make a very fast pressure on the pawn on c4. This is something which white has to be careful, because it's almost impossible to protect this pawn, because rook c8 is also coming, and white needs to create some play on the king side. And this is what Liren did immediately with e4 and bishop g5. Now there are some ideas: knight h5, queen f3. The ping is very annoying, so black needs to play h6, and here it comes to move h4. This is it looks incredibly romantic, but it is kind of standard at top level. We know that this is not really a piece sacrifice, because white would get immediately checkmate on the h file. We will see now. But of course it's nice to see these kind of moves in a World Championship match. It makes the games very exciting. Black needs to react, and Nepo, he more or less fast, he understood that this was the best way to play, to take the bishop and then play g6. Of course, as I said, it's not serious to try to move the knight, because white is immediately getting a decisive attack with the powerful rook and queen together on the h file. So the game went g6, and here white takes, and now Liren started to think, but I believe this was still in his preparation. He was probably making sure, trying to remember, but the way he played, so energetic, I'm pretty sure this was his preparation. He went e5, pawn sacrifice, and d5. Now we are going to see the point of rook a2, because black in the game played knight e7, which is probably dubious. The best move was probably rook d8, but now we have the move rook d2. It's very important to see this idea, then we understand what's going on. And that's why you like these videos probably on Internet Chess Club, because Alex Yermolinsky and myself, we try to find out what is the truth behind each move. Now I understand the point, but still I believe that black was more or less fine here, and I have the feeling that the right way to play is to trade pawns on the center, to trade bishops, and then, well, I mean, it's true white has some compensation, because the h-file and the knight jumping on e4, the pawn d5 is strong, but black has many moves here. Queen f4 is one interesting idea the computer likes a lot, knight e7, knight e5. It's not clear at all, I mean, who is better and why. I would say the position is unclear. Maybe Nepo thought, well, I mean, this is going to be very well prepared by my opponent, I'm trying to surprise, but after knight e7, the center remains closed, so white's attack perspectives on the king side can have much more hope. He played d6. It's a very interesting strategy. White is making a combination with the attack on the h-file. The queen is already coming. Look at this. This looks completely winning if black doesn't react. And the strength of the d pawn. I mean, there are two main factors that play in white's favor. Of course, black is a pawn up and a very good pawn structure, and the fight is very exciting. Now he needs to play king g7, and white goes g4. This is very natural, trying to drive the knight away, and then white would have a decisive attack on the king side. But black is ready to meet this g4 move with a very clever counterattack move, bishop b7. I have to say that they are both playing at a very high level. Some people is criticizing this match. There are many mistakes. Come on. The positions are very complicated. Both players are playing very ambitiously. And it's, of course, I mean, with this time control, it's normal that there are some mistakes. But in general, some parts of the games are played at a very, very high level, like this. Both finding the best moves for both colors. Knight h4 here and g5. At this moment, this looks very dangerous for black. White has also now a strong point on f6. And I think Nepo, he got scared of the possibility of the knight jumping there, and he played immediately bishop e4, and this was a mistake. This is the first mistake in this game, and a very, I mean, understandable move. The point is rook h8 was necessary, and the position is extremely unclear. If white is better prepared, he has good chances to win this game, but of course, who knows? I mean, it's a complete chaos, the position. In the game after bishop e4, queen e4, the point is that now e5 is hanging, and the queen is also very strong on e4, as we will see. Knight f5, and now it comes very precise. Move rook d2, not take. I mean, if we take first, then f6, black is getting immediately counterplay. But after rook d2, now black has serious problems. I mean, d6 is coming, and at one point queen e5 is also possible. Black really needs to play something like rook h8. This is what happened in the game. And now take. And here it's the first moment where I believe white could win the game. But it was not easy. The move was not easy at all. In fact, Liren was thinking a lot the previous moves, so he wanted to play fast here, and he found a clear way to be better, and he didn't try to find anything else. He went d7, which is the most natural move in the position. White is probably threatening to take and promote. And the point that he missed a very tricky idea, rook d3. This was not easy. The point is to have the move rook h3, followed by queen e5 and checkmate. And it's difficult to offer a move for black, because queen h4 is not possible because the rook is hanging. That's why I said the queen on e4 is very strong, doing a lot of work in both flanks. After rook d3, it's difficult to find good moves for black. Maybe the most natural would be queen d8, and then we have rook h3. It's also possible queen e5 check. This was, but knight g7, maybe black can try to survive here. It's better for white, anyway, and not too difficult. But rook h3 is also very strong immediately, because after take, check, king e2, and the king escapes to the king side, king f3, king g2, etc. So rook d3 was a very good opportunity to win the game in a clear and fast way. Of course, the move was not easy, especially because d7 is also good, which Liren played. And after a few moves, we will see he repeated positions just to win some time on the clock, and played queen c7 finally, move 31. White is clearly better. I mean, look at the position, it's equal material, and white has a very powerful pawn on d7. There is no question about it. And now I think Nepo made a very clever move, which he gambling like a poker player, in fact, because his move is amazing. I mean, he went queen h4, giving up the rook just to create some counterplay, some perpetual check probably after queen e4 check. Well, what was the alternative? The point is that queen f8 was probably a slow death for black. He's very passive. There are no, white has many ideas here. For example, even giving up the d7 pawn to create a powerful pawn on a file. This is already better for white. Pawn up and a very dangerous a pawn. But okay, he could also have some other ideas like king d1, putting the king on c2, very safe, and later playing on the flank. This would bring to very similar position like in the game, but without the pawn on a7, which is quite important. In the game after queen h4, then Liren didn't have so much time to make a decision, and the people that was criticizing this moment, I believe this is unfair, because if white takes the rook, it looks like it's a perpetual. Look, queen e4 check, and well, first of all, bishop e2, it's perpetual. King d1, it's immediately perpetual, and white has the move rook e2, but it looks extremely difficult to escape the checks. But the only way would be king d3, but then after queen b1 check, well, I mean, this is very scary, especially if you have not so much time to decide. Well, I mean, the computer is showing rook c2, and there is an easy line which everybody was showing on the internet. They said, okay, this was easy because now take, and the king escapes 2b2. Yes, well, but what about the move queen d1 check? This is something serious, because now after rook d2 we have a draw. I mean, this draw I already showed. So the only way to win after queen d1 check is to give the rook with check, and this is, well, I mean, really something which not so easy to find in a time travel, especially you need the move bishop d3, very important. And well, I mean, by miracle, nothing happens here, and white can promote, there is no mate, and the king finally escapes. We cannot criticize Liren for not going for queen d8. It was an extremely difficult move. After queen h4, white played king d1. I think this is not bad. I think white is still better, a little better. Of course, he lost 2 opportunities already, rook d3 and queen d8. And now black takes here, king c2. And here I think some little mistakes in time travel. Queen e7 was passive, probably queen h4 was better. After queen e7, probably king b3 was the best, driving the king away of danger, but bishop g2 was played very natural. And then black missed an opportunity. He played e5, very natural move. He wants e4, e3. And the computer is showing knight d4 as the best move. This was a really difficult defense for Nepo. I mean, the point is to take 3 pawns for the bishop, and according to the computer, black is okay. Well, it's not so easy to give a bishop in this way during a real game. After e5, this mistake, which if bishop e4 is very good move, because driving the knight away. Now knight d4, of course, is not working anymore because e5 is hanging. And after knight h6, we have the move queen a7, knight g4, and here we reach the third critical moment, the third missed opportunity by white, and this one was, in my opinion, quite easy. So I understand he was in big time travel, and then he played bishop f3, probably missing the move knight f2. After rook f2, black can already take on d7 and equalize the game. Was necessary to play bishop c6, which was not so difficult because this is the move you want to make to protect your big pawn. And after bishop c6, it looks like black is worst, probably losing with good play. Let me show you one variation. Now we have the a pawn, knight e5 here, and white needs to play precise because now a4 is probably drawish because black gets a lot of counterplay. But if we play precise queen c7 first, and then later black wants to enter, we play precise again queen g3, and finally f3. And well, I mean, white is winning with these good positions. Now the knight is pinned and white is going to win material. Not easy, but bishop c6 was really a natural move, and I'm very much surprised that Liren didn't find it. After bishop f3, well, I mean, the game now, rook d7 was possible. He played d4, bishop rook d7 will come immediately. He took his time, again rook d7 was possible, a transposition of moves, but he went f5. And very soon we have an equal position. Here, in fact, black could play queen d7, and white has to find the only move not to lose, rook g2. And the position is probably equal, but if somebody is better, this is slightly better for black. But I think Nepo was happy to save the draw in this game, and very soon they trade all pieces. And by the way, here, if not bishop e4, bishop g2, well, I mean, white cannot win here. He can only be worst. So after bishop e4, take, the game was draw. Well, I think this was a very exciting game, and after probably difficult for Liren to be happy because he missed several opportunities. He spent one very important novelty, this rook a2, and well, I mean, for Nepo it was completely all right. I mean, again, he was suffering with the black pieces. He was surprised in the opening, but he reacted very well with this queen h4, this poker move, this bluff, which was working well in this game. Now we are going to check the game number 9. It was also an interesting battle, and well, the quality of the game is also quite high, but maybe the game was not so exciting. So we will, but of course strategically it's a very interesting, especially the opening. Finally the Berlin came. Liren was a bit tired to suffer with the classical Ruy Lopez, so he went for the Berlin. And here I have suspicions that Vladimir Kramnik is helping Nepo in all these lines. He went for a line which is not so popular, c3. I mean, well, c3 it is popular, I mean later, the way white plays. If castle, then black has knight d4, which considers to be okay for equality. After c3, castle, then black has d5. Of course, there are many games with d6, but d5 is more direct, and well, the fact that the pawn is on c3 and there is no pressure over e5 makes this move possible. White plays knight bd2, and this is very much in Kramnik's style, to play like this with white. In fact, we had a game Carlsen with white against Kramnik, the first time this line was played at a very high level, and on that game Mr. Kramnik, he played with black pieces knight b8, and this is exactly what Liren did today. Why this move, so strange move? Well, I mean, in this kind of positions, the pawn is better on c6 and the knight better on d7, and the knight on c6 is not very flexible. Also, all the time white is sometimes taking, black has to be careful all the time. That's why knight b8 is reasonable. In that game, Carlsen went bishop d3, h6, knight c4, and here Vladimir, he played knight c6. Finally, he made a draw, but it was not very natural the way he played. But of course, knight bd7 is very possible and probably an improvement. In this game, Nepo brought a new idea, rook e1, which is very natural. And he's given the f1 square for the knight to make the typical transfer of the knight to g3. After rook e1, rook d8, h3, here we had a game Lenier Dominguez Rochstein from Chennai 2022. Black played knight e8, finally he lost. It's a very bit sophisticated move trying to bring the knight to d6. In this game, Liren played more natural h6, and after a few moves we have an important position here. Well, here I was expecting knight bd7 and knight b6. It's true that maybe white is slightly better here, it's more natural, white's position, Liren went knight a6. At the beginning I thought I don't like the move, but according to the computer it's a very precise move, and it's stopping the plan b4 forever, so white will never have the opportunity to jump before, and it's okay developing the knight, protecting the bishop on c5 and leaving the diagonal free for the black bishop. After knight g3, queen c7, again computer's favorite move, so Liren played very precise. Of course, bishop e6 was a big problem. The pawn on e5 is hanging in some lines. So queen c7, and he's not afraid of knight f5, because here black can play very active. And here we can see that this is just an example how the game could go if this happens. Here black is a pawn down, but well, who is better and why? With this bishop on c1, white has a lot of problems. After queen c7, white went bishop e2, b5, queen e2, and here I believe it was more precise to follow the computer's advice, bishop f8. The machine is not afraid to give the pawn, because it's true that after knight c5 black gets fantastic compensation with bishop a6 coming, and he has the square on d3 to jump with the knight. So rook b8 is probably not so precise, it was not so necessary. And white used the opportunity to grab immediately the initiative on the king side. Do you want to try to think strategically? Do you want to try to find a good move for white here? Okay, join me. Knight h4. This is a very typical idea in the Ruy Lopez. White is bringing the queen to the attack, and now suddenly bishop h6 is a threat. And by the way, not an easy threat to meet. If black plays something like knight h7 to drive the knight away, white can simply play knight g6, and already we are grabbing the bishop. We are going to have two bishops, and even sometimes there are some tactics here. I was surprised to see this tactic I've never seen before, to give these two pieces for the rooks and 3 pawns. Well, I mean, it's a lot of pawns, 3, and probably white is slightly better here. But okay, after queen f3, black played b takes a4, an interesting idea by Liren. He played active defense. And of course, after bishop h6, now he went very powerful knight c5. It's very important to have the d3 square for the rook, because if we go immediately rook b2, then we have a big problem with the knight, bishop g5, and black is going to suffer a lot on the king side. But after knight c5, if bishop g5, rook d3, black is more or less okay. But still, I think this was a way to play with white. Maybe he got scared by rook g3, trying to take on e4, but white has bishop f6. It's a very important move. And after queen e2, if knight h7, then we have the standard move, bishop e3. Now this is hanging, and if bishop a6, knight f5. And suddenly white is developing a very powerful attack on the king side. Well, I mean, I'm going to say white has initiative. It's a bit chaotic, but in general, white seems to be better. Well, Nepo went knight g6, which is also very natural and beautiful aesthetically. And the point is, he wants to take on f8. And this is what happened in the game after rook b2, take, bishop g5, knight h7, bishop c1. And here again, black didn't probably find the best defense. I mean, white is pressing. It's, I mean, a pawn down, but it's true that the pawns on a file are quite weak. And white has a lot of pressure, 2 bishops and some attack on the king side. And black needed to find the move rook c2. It was a bit strange because it looks like the rook can get trapped on enemy's camp. But the fact is that if bishop b1, we have a simple move. And black is very fine. And if bishop a3, then we can play knight b3 and give the exchange, because in fact this position is probably black is better. I mean, it's a pawn for the exchange, but look, a, b pawns are very strong, and the rook on c2 is also strong. So this was a very good idea, rook c2, and the position is very unclear. But in the game we saw rook b5, which is a bit worse, because now after bishop a3, the bishops are very strong, and black is in a little problem here. He cannot save the rook. He went bishop e6, and now I'm very much surprised that Nepo didn't take the rook, because I understand there is some compensation in this position, well, black has some compensation, it's true. But, well, I mean, it's exchange, and the pawns are not so easy to advance. The bishop on a3 is quite good on defense, and I would not be surprised that white is better here. I think slightly better, but quite comfortable. And there was also another idea to keep the bishop alive if you don't want to take the rook, and simply just put the pieces. We have some good ideas, knight f5, bishop d6, and the rook is still hanging. So I was quite surprised to see bishop takes e6. It looks like white is giving away the advantage. After knight e6, knight f5, c5, and now maybe it was interesting bishop c1, coming back with the bishop, trying to get some play on the king side. But I think Nepo, he already was kind of happy to make a draw. The way he played, very, very solid with white, and allowing black more or less to equalize. Here, this was maybe the last chance to play for a win with f3, but of course already not so clear. These lines are a bit strange. And Nepo, he went for queen a4, and then okay, we trade pieces. Here black decided to completely liquidate with rook c3, which it will bring a lot of exchange of pieces. It was possible to play more solid with knight d7 and rook c3, but you have to find this very important move, rook d3. Maybe he missed this important move. Then black is not worst, it's equal completely. In the game, white is going to be slightly better after taking on e5, and Liren, he went for this line, which looks completely draw, but still white is pressing because g7 is hanging. In fact, here Liren decided to give up a pawn with knight d4 and go for this endgame. This endgame is a draw, but well, I mean, white is a pawn up, and Nepo was pressing for a long time. But let's see, on move 38, they were short on time again, not so much like in some of the games. But why did Liren make this choice? Because it was not so easy. I mean, it's true that it looks like should be easy draw, like for example knight d2. Now white cannot use the pressure on g7. It's a mistake to take and try to win like this because black gets a decisive advantage. But white could play simply very precise move bishop c3, and I think this was very annoying for Liren, because now if knight b3, then yes, then now it's the right moment to play bishop g7. Well, after knight g7, rook g4, computer says black gets enough counterplay with the c pawn, but I would be a bit scared with black giving up a pawn like this. So it's very natural that he went knight d4. And here, well, I mean, let me show you the game. I'm not going to comment too much because it's a completely draw. It's very interesting how Liren, he offered knight f5. Okay, white could damage black pawn's structure, but the pawn goes to the center and it's an easy draw. It's a good choice, and it shows very good understanding of Liren on rook endgames. In the game, well, I mean, Nepo was trying to make some pressure. Liren was playing very active, keeping all the time, and with f5 he's trying to already provoke. He wants knight d4 check and take on f2, and if black plays knight f6, we have a rook endgame, which is a draw. It's true that the black king is cut, but also the white king is cut, and he cannot use his little advantage. In the game, it came king f3, and then black used the opportunity to trade rooks and go for a knight's endgame, which is completely draw. We can see a little bit, black played very precise, and well, I mean, there was not a real chance for white to create real winning chances. I mean, Liren defended pretty well. The position is simple for these very strong players, and well, it was a well-deserved draw. I think this made justice to the merits of each player. Well, so far Nepo dominating, and I think there are, just to summarize, there are three reasons why Nepo is dominating. One is that he has more experience. I mean, he already played one World Championship, and this gave him some advantage, pretty much. The second is that he's playing in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a Russian-speaking country. You feel at home, and I believe Nepo, well, I mean, is probably very well accompanied and supported in Astana. And the third reason, it has a name, Vladimir Kramnik, and I think it's a serious advantage to have Kramnik by your side, helping you And by the choice of openings, I have the feeling that this is true. And it's not surprising. Nepo is Russian, Kramnik is Russian. Why not to help a teammate? Anyway, Liren is fighting like a lion, like a Chinese lion, and the match is very exciting. Not such a big advantage. 5-4. Still 5 games to go. Anything can happen. And we're going to be paying attention to these next 5 games. Liren will have 3 times white. So this kind of compensates for the point down. But of course, still Nepo favorite. According to what we see in this match, Liren is having a lot of problems with the time management. Nepo is playing faster, looks more confident. But we will see. Anything can happen in these 5 games. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.